traders, and welcome to My Funded Future. My name is Adona, and I am your hostess. This show is created not to only entertain and engage you, but to also make you a better trader. I myself am not a trader, but I will be the voice for the chat, and we welcome all of your questions. We'll be talking ideas, we'll be talking setups, and whatever it takes to make you a better trader. I would like to now welcome in Luke. Welcome, Luke. How are
Hello.
you today?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well and ready to learn today.
All
So,
right.
can you tell us about the market today? How's the US market looking today? Give us some insight, some information. What is good for us to know?
Yeah. So we had some fun yesterday on stream. We had a couple live trades going on the downside. I think both on ES and NQ. We got that movement lower starting right around the open. After the close, we started to tick a little bit higher. So I'm curious to see what Barbie and Forrest have to say about that. We take a look at econ data today. We are light. There's not a ton going on. A little bit of Fed speak, but no JPOW. Nothing especially interesting. That said, we do have Tesla coming after the close today. Exciting for many of us. Could move NQ as well. So I want to get some opinions on what Tesla earnings does for them. But again, we should be gearing up for some fun today. And maybe even gearing up for a couple free accounts, a couple free resets. I don't know. We'll have to, a little tease. We'll have to see.
Yes, we're always right. Okay, well, thank you so much, Luke. That was very insightful. I guess we'll go ahead and call in Barbie now and Forest Night.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Barbie. Good morning. How are
Yo,
you?
yo.
Hi, Forrest. How are you guys feeling today?
Good. Ready for the
Well,
day.
We
another
got
opportunity
classes.
to get after it.
Amazing. Okay, so I guess we'll go ahead and just tell us what's interesting about the charts today. Well, Barbie or Forrest, whichever one wants to go first, go.
We usually do ladies first, right?
Yeah, always
Do it.
ladies
Run
first,
with it.
but Forrest
I'll
today.
start with ES and then I'll let Forrest let you know what he's looking at on NQ. But for ES, we have moved higher overnight. We opened up around 51.80 and we've crept all the way up to about 52.40 right now. We did test the 52.51 overnight. So I pulled up a daily chart to kind of show where we are. I don't know what trader gets credit with coming up with don't diddle in the middle, but we're kind of in the middle of where price could potentially be here. I've got the 21 EMA is a median. I love to kind of play off of that one. And then we've got the 2 and 3 ATR bands down here. And we're really just kind of playing around in the middle of that right now. But I'll show you kind of what I'm looking at. I'll take these bands off now that I moved down to the smaller time frame. So here's the 15-minute. You can see this move that we've made overnight, and I'm really watching this 52.50 area on ES. It's both where we kind of started yesterday before we had that nice move down that a lot of us took. And we're kind of retesting that same area again. So we'll see if we get another move down off of it or if we're going to kind of work our way higher today. So kind of the first thing I'm going to look at is kind of a test up here, see if that brings us down or if we get a breakout of that 20 or 52.50 area. We did get a great short off of this yesterday. I ended up taking this down to about 5,200 and it kept going. So there was about, I took about half of the potential on that play. I know Forrest was looking for a deeper target on NASDAQ. So we'll see if he got that one. But yeah, for today, I'm just kind of looking to see if we kind of fill in some more of this on the daily. Whoop, let me fix this chart real quick. Fill in some of this. We kind of lost this bear flag. So I'm wondering if there is potential to kind of test lower, but we did really buy up underneath the 51.50 area yesterday when that's kind of what this wick is showing. We traveled below 51.50 and it was quickly bought up. So here we are back challenging 100 points higher this morning. So let me know what you're looking at on NASDAQ, I guess.
Yeah, Forrest. What is your most interesting chart?
And how did
I'm
that
in.
play work out for you yesterday? Did you get the full target?
Put me in the game. I'd say I captured 90% of it, not the full target. So once we, let's actually, we can talk about the trade first. So let's go to the 1 hour. Okay, so I mentioned yesterday, really, my thesis is based off the weekly. You got to start on the higher time frames, guys. You have to. If you don't start on the higher time frames, you're going to get smoked by all the small details, right? You got to keep the big picture in mind. So we had this nice kind of continuation. If you look at the 1 hour, right, a lot of red coming down. If you go to the 4 hour, this really gave you a clean read, right? Off of the settlement open, we had a red candle, and a red candle, right? Volume increasing on a red candle, 6 a.m. candle, right? So you should expect continuation. At the end of the day, yesterday, right? So this is the 10 a.m. candle. This is the 2 p.m. candle. We jump down to the 1 hour. We can kind of see where the story started to change for RTH. Pretty common, right? So in trending price action, you're not always going to get from 3 to 4, what people call power hour of power, where a lot of people lose money on options. You're not going to get like another leg necessarily. Like ask yourself, how many times in the markets have you seen 3 to 4 be this crazy continuation of a move? Very often you get that intra-session pullback, right? And that's what we got here. It traversed across the other side of this node, and then we're pulling up here and it's grabbing liquidity, right? So all of these people, anybody who was shorting down here, right? If you waited all day, then you got short here, you got absolutely trapped. I'm sure you're getting smoked. Sorry if that happened to you. So I caught most of this once I ended up trailing my stop a bit here end of the day, just because I suspected that this, might happen. Okay, so given that expectation, I could always just re-short for a pullback. I'm flat right now, just FYI. But yeah, had a great trade yesterday. Again, I think the market right now is like the Olympics of trading. It's like one of the best times to be a trader for intraday speculation, right? Obviously, swing trading and all that, yes, as well. But if you're actually just trading inside of one day or just holding trades for a few hours even, you can make a lot of money right now. But let's go back to the weekly.
This has been amazing, these swings that we're getting.
Yeah, it's been pretty nuts. But today, yeah, I mean, taking a look here, we're still inside of this low value on the weekly, right? So we came down, we got pretty close to that target one that I called out yesterday, right? There's this little delta in the volume profile here that we bounced off of. But again, as a VPE trader, I'm looking for the volume profile edges. I'm just gonna wait today, I think. There was a lot of data at 8:30 already. Let me actually check the calendar, because I've got so much stuff in my brain. Well, that was a crazy layout. I don't know. I just glanced at the stream. You were like split into 4 quadrants for a second there. But yeah, I'm going to be very, very patient today. I want to see, at least in 1 hour candle form, that gives me a read, preferably higher. And that's really what I'm looking for. So just going to be absolutely patient. Every trade that I've gotten into in this market has been over, I think, I don't know, in the past 2 weeks, over 200 points. So I'm as in less of a rush as I've ever been in my entire life in the markets right now. That's what I'm looking at.
All right. Guys, news just in on my headset right here. Big news. I'm putting a code up on the screen for 15% off of our starter plan. This is a rare deal. Link is in the chat, okay? 15% off a starter. This is the plan that everybody wants the promos and the bonuses on, and we never offer it because, we like to push people to some of these other programs like our Expert, where it's for more advanced traders who are making more earnings. But 15% off of our starter plan. It brings it to $82. Code APR START. Link is in the chat. I'm going to spam it a couple times. Go ahead and grab that one, okay? And for all of you saying you want free resets, free accounts, we might be able to deliver on that. We're up to 400 right now on YouTube. We're not even thinking about it until we get to 500. So if you have not subscribed, liked, shared the stream, told your grandma to log in, your stepbrother to log in, you're part of the problem. We need to climb it up to 500. But real quick, taking us back to the content again, APR START. This is a rare flash opportunity for you all. Okay, so go and grab that. It'll help you be able to get the resets, okay? But Barbara, you were talking about a couple levels. Could you give us those levels again?
Yeah, I pulled down to this chart. I realized I didn't have my levels on that other chart, so this should help out a little bit being on this chart. This is my markup chart. So if I zoom out to high time frame, it's really crazy. But when I zoom in, we can look at these levels that I was working on. So this is yesterday, this nice move we got down. I had just taken it to this level here, and then we got this really nice extension. And the level that I was watching down here, it was, I have it marked as the 5148, but I was really looking at it as an area, the mid-century area, so 5150. And I wasn't trading down here, but I did note that we had this really massive kind of violent move up through the close. And I kind of took note of that. That kind of showed me that, you know, this was a cheap area to be bought. So this was cheap for ES to be bought yesterday below 5150. So I have made note that that was heavily defended. And now we're almost 100 points higher. We did test 100 points higher up there at 52.51. And so this is the area that I'm kind of watching. And this view is, I think, a good one because we can see where the volume was yesterday during the regular trading hours. So here's the what's traded since we closed. And then this was the pre-market yesterday. So it kind of just looks like this day. I mean, we've retraced the entire day, basically. So we're retesting where we opened up yesterday, which is that 52.50 area again. So I'm really watching that to see if we get kind of an initial reaction off of that. Something to kind of think of if we go to like the SPY chart. Here's the pre-market where we are on SPY. So this is like a regular trading hours version of the S&P 500. And you can see we're going to open with a big gap up, and we have a gap down from yesterday. So this is going to be kind of a price vacuum. And then we'll have kind of a price vacuum down here with this new gap that we're creating. So we're in a little bit of a tricky spot. Yesterday, I saw that developing a little bit earlier, so I was willing to take it into open. Today, I might need to be a little bit more cautious and wait to see how this plays out to kind of see if the regular trading hours assets are going to want to kind of fill this vacuum higher or lower. Because what I'm looking at on ES is, let me get my levels back on here. This level up here could potentially be tested and then reject again, even if we're going to move higher later in the day. So I'm really looking to see what the reaction is here. I'm going to be looking kind of for my classic breakout or rejection strategies. So I'm going to be looking to see if we have a lot of volume and a lot of power through here, or if we're just kind of, you know, munching around on this level where it looks like we're going to kind of fail through it later. If we do get through it, we have even more targets up here. Of course, the 5,300, I think because these ranges have gotten so big, we're just ending up hitting the century and the mid-century figures a lot. But I do have the 86 level up in here. This is where we get into that gap. And I talked about this yesterday. I marked my gaps in yellow. So this gap has already been partially filled. We filled it up to basically the midpoint, but there is a little bit of an open air up here. So if we start getting back over 5,300, I'll be looking up to that 53.26, 53.30 area. So that's probably better with all my levels on my chart. Makes a little bit more sense. And on NASDAQ, what I end up doing, even if I end up trading NASDAQ, I'm going to be watching these kind of ES levels. And you'll watch it line up. If we have confluence between NASDAQ and ES, that's when I'll want to take these sorts of trades anyway. So
awesome. Well, I wanted to take it to Forrest and ask you a question. Can you give us a little bit of a breakdown of your trade yesterday? Why did you enter and why did you exit?
Yeah, really good question. So we're going to go way, way, way back in time to about 36 hours ago. And I'm going to partially repeat myself, but that's okay. So we're on the weekly. I'm on ES. It really doesn't even matter. We'll jump over to NQ again. We can see here there's this node here on the weekly, and there's this node here below on the weekly on ES. And then if we go over to NQ, it's the same thing, right? So we use the replay tool. For those of you who haven't used the replay tool, one of the best tools in your toolbox as a trader. Highly recommend it. It gives you the ability to test your thesis, right? See how things would work out. You can make an infinite number of paper accounts, by the way, something I highly recommend for all of you. There's no reason not to paper trade, right? Even when you're trading with real capital or with a prop account, if you want to test an idea and you're not confident, just put it on a sim trade. Anyways, nonetheless, on the weekly, we had this Of course, it's not going to load on the chart replay. So let's just go to the 24-hour chart. You can do 24H like that, and we can beat the indicator by tricking the interval. A little trick for you. So we have this node here. So I'm really shorting this liquidity above on the weekly, which is really important, right? This higher time frame, everything that's on here. We have the histogram telling us that there's a liquidity shelf above, and there's all this low value below. So I'm always talking about low value and high value. The reason that this is important is, well, what happened behind my, oh, it's because it's connected to YouTube there. I'm always talking about high value and low value. So low value areas, that means that there are literally less people positioned there. So because there are less people positioned there, we're likely to race through those areas. And so if we look at what happened after we first tested this node, we'll zoom in. We got this red candle. Okay, and now we're playing around in this low value area. I'm expecting us to still really come lower and finish this traversal here, all the way down to my T1 target, right? So I'm just keeping that thesis until the market proves me wrong. But to your question of, you know, how did my trade go yesterday? What was I exactly doing yesterday? Let's go ahead and make sure that we print these candles. Okay, so this is too far back in time. Let's come back to this time period. We have this gap down here, right? Very bearish move here. If we come to the present market here, this Sunday, another bearish open. So very bearish here on Tuesday. Last week, right? It was a shortened week. And then we had that continuation off of this. Again, above us is this fat shelf that's above us. Don't forget about that, even though that we're zoomed in. So I'm thinking inside of a day, what's most likely to happen inside of a day? I have this higher time frame thesis, what's most likely to happen on lower time frames. So we sell off really all day, right? We sweep a couple of these lows. There is this session POC over here. There's another little node right here on our VP, right? That we, you know, traversed. And then at 3 o'clock, right at the end of the day, it says, you know what? We're not going to have a massive red day because, again, it's very unlikely that you just get that 3 to 4 continuation. It happens sometimes. It tends to be very erratic, but most likely, or what most trending sessions, what you get is kind of this end of session pullback, right, or pull up in this case, right? So we got this up candle that traversed this node into the close, and then post close we got this drift up, you know, eating up a few more people and just trapping all these shorts here, right? So anybody who shorted late got absolutely ruined. And is either looking for a way out or has already taken a loss. But yeah, that's really how I thought about the trade. I like to trail my stops when I'm hit about 60 or 70, really like 70% of the EV on a trade is when I'll trail a stop. I actually don't even, I mean, well, this might be controversial. I rarely even trade with stops in the first place. I use mental stops, but I'm very patient for my trades. I'll put a stop on. I'll tend to set alerts, and then I'll trail a stop. Like once I hit 70% of my expected value, then I'll throw a stop on the chart. So a lot of stuff in however long that was. But
thank you so much for the mental stop, because that was actually going to be kind of my next question for both of you guys. And it is, how do you approach risk?
Yeah,
I use stop loss. But well, okay, if I'm trading options, I'm pretty into the mental stop, and that's a lot because of the way that options work with the premium, where you're dealing with all the different Greeks affecting the premium. So it's not just a clean stop loss price. You can't base it on premium with options. It has to be based on the chart. So with options, I do use the same. Well, I don't know if it's the same, but I use a mental stop approach. But with futures, I always have one out. So I use NinjaTrader to trade, but I mean, it shouldn't really matter which platform you use. I always have it use a bracket, even if it's just a 1-to-1 bracket that means nothing. It could just be random points, just so I have that stop. But then I always put it somewhere that makes sense on the chart. And it might be really far away because I really want to give my trade room, but futures, I do always have one on there.
Well, that's really good to know. I'm sure for everyone out there that's watching as well. Forrest, do you want to kind of give us your management of risk and how you do it?
Yes. Sorry, just adding some alerts here on Apple and Microsoft. Hold
He's
on.
managing
So,
risk right now.
I think that capital protection is the most important thing, right? So I can't, again, just a little side note here. I know I have a long-winded answers all the time, I know, but I think it's important. I think we live in a nuanced reality. But, you know, I started at a retail brokerage. I had the opportunity to start my career at an investment firm around people who are investing money. So before I became a intraday, you know, speculator, trying to make a ton of money in a small window of time, I really was focused on the power of compound interest and just capital preservation, risk management. So I think as a trader, you really are a risk manager, right? You have a set of capital. It's your own capital. But if you thought of it as someone else's capital and your number one priority was to not lose money, you should trade like that, right? So even though I don't trade with stops, that's because of how I trade, right? So for example, I'll give you all a tangible, sensical example of how I can trade without stops, or I trade with very wide stops. If I wait until, again, this trade, I know that there is a node appears. If I wait to short until we're at an actual level in the auction or the market that I know a huge amount of people are positioned at, right? If I don't short until here, I can have no stop, because really, as soon as this starts to drift higher, I'm wrong. I'm just cutting the trade anyways. I don't need a stop. But on the weekly chart, the reason why I won't trade with the stop is because on the weekly chart, this is like 230 points, right? If I have a specific like point stop on this, I'm going to be too concerned about the P&L and not the thesis itself. So I like my trade thesis to play out. And so what I'll do is I'll just watch it. I'll set an alert around here. I don't really care about the nominal value of wherever I get in. I get in, and wherever it doesn't make sense, like my trade fails here, then I'll just have an alert there or right up to it, right?
Yeah,
So
that's amazing. Yeah.
that's how I kind of manage my risk. And then the RR on my trades tends to be ridiculous anyways. Like I'll hit like 1/50s, because it's just like, this goes back to what I said the other day. Like RR is an observation. It's not something you can actually use to trade with, because you can have an insane, like 1 to 4, you risk 1 to make 4, but then all of your trades fail. So you're not actually a good trader just because you have tight stops, right? The only thing that makes you a good trader is executing profitable trades. That's the only thing that matters. And so it's a bit of a psychological game there. Now, if you're someone who's constantly holding losers and cutting winners, you're on a different level, and you probably need to implement some tight stops until you can, you know, enter better trades. So that's my approach at this point in time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And this time has been, for the chat as well. We want to answer your questions. So if you have questions that you want advice from our expert traders here today, then please ask them. But we do have a poll for you on the chat right now, and it's whether you're feeling more bullish or bearish today. So go ahead and add your vote. And of course, after that, then we will do some free resets, or I believe we're going to do a free account. I'm not sure yet. We will confirm, but yes, let's go ahead and add our votes. And then maybe we'll bring Luke in next. So,
all right, I'm here. I'm in. As Idona said, poll is in the chat. We're asking for your bias on the day. We only have 223 votes. That means that half of you are lame and are not participating. So if you're not participating, participate. Again, we want to do this show to show, we're more than just your favorite, your most trustworthy, your most predictable, your most honest prop firm, but that we're a community and that we're all in here together and doing it all together. Also, can we get a shout out for Idona in the chat? Day number 2 that she's on the stream with us. I think she's doing a wonderful job. So let's show some love for Idona in the chat. 3, we may be right around the corner from doing some free resets, from doing some free accounts. If you would like to get some freebies, and I'm talking, we're doing each day, we're doing something like $15,000 worth of giveaways. You must be subscribed. So if you have not subscribed, subscribe now. I'm giving you the heads up. Hit the subscribe on the YouTube. If you're watching on Twitter, if you're watching on Instagram, navigate to the MyFundedFutures YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button so that way you are eligible. But without further ado, I'm going to preview some of the content that we have right around the corner. We talked about NQ. We talked about ES. We know the levels that both of our expert traders, your expert traders, are watching for. Each day, Barbie delivers for us the most interesting chart of the day. It's something that she spends the time to prepare for us every single day. So we're going to take a look at that in a minute. You are going to get the most interesting chart of the day. I'm going to ask both of our traders to talk about Tesla for a second, both the stock and what the implications are for NQ. We've got Tesla earnings after the bell today. We have an educational segment. Every single day, we have education building on each other. So again, we want to do whatever it takes to make you a better trader, etc. And then we have a special guest, all in the next 60 minutes on the dot. We are running right into the open. So I'm going to ask Barbie for her most interesting chart of the day. So we've got a few time for a couple candles to develop after the open. We'll take a look at how we opened, and we'll keep cooking. So Barbie, I'm sending it over to you.
Yeah, well, I went ahead and pulled Tesla up just kind of for the reminder because this one has earnings today and you kind of brought that one back up. So I'm still really watching this. Tesla's at major support at earnings, and the expectation is to not have great earnings. So the surprise would be if they have anything good. But I do have a new one that I wanted to show you, and this one's also going to have earnings, and that's M-Phase. So I was looking at this one. This is another one that has earnings. And let's see, this one was today as well, right? Let me double check before I tell you wrong. So yeah, this one's also tonight. And what I had noticed on M-Phase is it is, well, let me get my tool here. It is forming a really classic breakout pattern here coming into earnings. So we've got this pennant. These typically, they have a slight bias to break to the upside, which I would kind of like with M-Phase being down here at support. It kind of broke through support, and now that support is kind of turned into resistance, and that's where M-Phase is. So if you're looking for another earnings play, and Tesla is a little bit spicy for you, we do have some other options here in something like M-Phase. This is another one where it can potentially move the market, but it's likely to be overshadowed by Tesla later. And what's going to be interesting coming into earnings is earnings are always delayed. So we're talking about the previous quarter. So the previous quarter is going to have earnings pre-tariff. And the guidance that we're going to be listening for at these earnings reports is going to be how they're going to be dealing with tariffs. So that's going to be something that we'll have to watch for both Tesla and M-Phase, but also any of the other earnings that are coming up this season also. So that is another interesting chart to watch in addition to Tesla.
All right. Tesla. So I guess this is maybe a question for Forrest. Do you trade a stock like this? I know you're trading a lot of futures, but you trade a little bit of everything. Do you trade a stock like this into earnings, after earnings? Do you care about a stock like this and what the implications are for NQ? Highly anticipated. A lot of news around Tesla over this past quarter. More news surrounding Tesla over the past quarter than ever, which is hard to believe.
Yeah, well, Tesla is, very unique because their CEO is part of the government. He's also it's a brand-led company, right? So a lot of their forward-looking guidance and things like that is based off of Elon
Will you
Musk's
go into
brand.
detail on your political leaning as well? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so I am whatever you need me to be. I agree with you.
I was like, whoa, coming in hot.
Don't waste my time with your opinion. No, but yeah, I'm not going to do that. You're funny, dude. I think Tesla is great for trading options. I don't really trade Tesla too often. I think Tesla is too often flavor of the week. right? What'll very often with Tesla, and you'll see this, I'm sure it happens more. I don't have direct stats, but they will delay a move, right? So say you get options 7 days to expiration, all of those will run to zero, and then they'll do the move a week later, right? It's heavily retail, driven. There's a ton of people on board. So I watch it. I have taken some pretty big trades on Tesla in 2024. I haven't taken any trades on Tesla this year so far. I do watch it though, just for, again, trading indices. It's a major part of, the indices that I trade, right? So
We'll get a reaction on the indices tonight from this. So
yeah, you definitely want to, and for anyone watching, like, you probably saw me poking around Apple, Microsoft, saying some alerts. So that's what I'll do. And I try to find the major pivots on the day. That's what I care about more. The intra, like the small movements on Tesla, I don't really care. Like when it hits the bottom or top of the range, or if it traverses this shelf here, this node that it's in right now, I want to know that, right? Because it's very likely going to continue this pattern of a lower high on the daily once it traverses back up, and then the indices will probably follow suit, right? So that timing of that event is really what I care about. Or if there is some like pretty great setup, I'll take it. But the thing is, again, because it's always flavor of the week, of the day, like IV crush is serious. If you don't know what that means you're probably not ready to get
that means don't trade earnings.
Yeah. Oh, and earnings in general, like I never trade earnings. Like my community, like there's a lot of people in my community that trade earnings, and like I haven't traded earnings in years. I just don't care. It's too gambly for me. I have exceptionally good reads when I have them, and when I don't have them, I just am fine with not knowing what's going to happen and not coin flipping. Now, some people make their careers off of earnings, and that's fine. That's just not me. So I'm not against it by any means. Like I know people who do well on earnings. I just don't play earnings. Not my thing.
Well, I have noticed that the open interest on Tesla in the options market is on the 200 puts and the 300 calls, and the expected move is 9%. So there's probably going to be a lot of bag holders.
Really?
That's for this week's options. This week's options, everyone's buying 200 puts and 300 calls, and that's going to get crushed kind of hard.
Yeah, you'll have to get. So I've played some pretty crazy strangles. If you go back in time on my channel, like I used to play some pretty crazy strangles on earnings events, and I have one. It was probably a few years ago. It was like a 6-figure trade that I did on like strangles and things like that. But what's more likely to happen is what Barbie said, whereas both sides get smoked and go to zero, and you make no money and you lose all your money.
I've played an iron condor on Tesla earnings before, which I know sounds crazy, but I was looking at it, and the IV was like 180, 200%. And I just didn't see where it was going to move. So I totally played the iron condor on it and kept that premium for myself. But
Nice.
I'm definitely, that's the way I'm playing Tesla for today. I'm going to be watching how it moves the indexes. Because sometimes it's kind of like data where it'll make that initial move, and then you can kind of watch for either a continuation or a reversal from that move.
I will say just on Tesla here, so it's tested this floor. If we think of a level as glass, right? So we've tapped the pane a few times. So first tap, glass didn't break. Second tap, glass didn't break. Third tap, we're down here, right? So if this fails to traverse this and it starts to hug lower, it's going to race through, right, this little low value pocket that's here. It's going to break the glass, and we're going to come down to the other side of this node here. Let's just call it 208, right? We're going to come down to these prices, right? Maybe even a little bit lower. We'll sweep this area like 200, which is, I mean, given where Tesla was, I can't. I feel bad
It's crazy.
for the people who are on the hype train at the end of last year. They are hurting. Sorry if that's you guys.
I haven't been playing Tesla as much because it's down here, and like you're saying, kind of been the flavor of the month. I've just been calling it a meme stock lately. I used to play Tesla every day, but that's when it was a high value option that I was still gambling on it, really. I was speculating on Tesla options, but the risk reward was better when it was trading at 800 and moving a little bit more methodically. And these days, we're at 200 one day and 400 the next day. There's definitely opportunity for gambling in there. But now that I'm
Yeah.
trying to pay the bills with my trading,
It's a little different, huh? Yeah, I hear
yeah.
you. I hear you. Yeah,
I
on
have
the last
gotten in on
night,
some of those great options plays, and they're great, but I don't really go for those. That helped me build an account, but now I have to keep my money, so I can't be doing that.
yeah, and that's where, I mean, that's what's great about futures is, you know, people get sucked into the option game of the exponential wins, but you can have the major losses. You know, futures are a linear product, right? And so you can make as much as you want just based off of how much leverage you're willing to commit into a trade, right? But in general, like, you can have a very like consistent kind of effect to your risk, up or down, upwards or downwards, right? So even if you have a bad day, like, you know, it's not going to be as bad as in options. Like, you could lose truly everything with options. Futures,
If I was going to play options on Tesla, I would assume I'm going to lose 100% of that if I'm not right.
I
Just
love you
fair.
guys just talking. This is great. I wanted to come in and just tell the chat that we're working on the free accounts. So don't worry. Luke is working on that right now. And
He's
we will
cracking a
be
whip on Luke back there. I know.
no,
cracking
he
a whip
is.
on Luke.
No, we all are. We're like, we need the code. So we're gonna have that out for you guys. And until then, there's two things I wanted to kind of know from both of you guys. Like, what is your like trading psychology? How do you use that? If you can give us some insight. And then after that, I would love for you, if you can give us some insight on the gold today and see how that's doing.
gold. Sure, Barbie, you first.
Yeah, gold's been fun. But well, for me, trading psychology is a really, really big thing, because when I very first started, I knew I wouldn't be able to do this every day if I was operating at that high level of stress, because I was just glued to the chart and every little 1 minute movement. And I was like, like, that's not good. Okay, wait, I'm okay. Like, the market was deciding if I was going to have a good day or a bad day, and that's not good. So I had to kind of flip that switch. And for me, the biggest thing in market psychology has been coming up with a strategy and a plan, really. And I think a lot of people think they have a strategy or a plan because you go watch somebody else's strategy or plan, and then like, okay, well, I'm going to go do that. But what made the difference for me was actually writing everything down and saying, I'm going to look for this play in the morning. I'm going to look for this play late in the morning. I'm going to look for this play power hour, and having it all laid out, and then having the levels and doing all of the prep work, and then actually letting the market come to me. It was that switch. Instead of like trying to find what I can do where the market is, I sit back and plan my trades and plan my levels and let the market come to me. And that's just made trading way more fun, way more pleasurable, and where it's not controlling my entire life and controlling my entire day. When you're in that mentality, you know that you need to change something. So that's definitely when you need to be not focusing on your charting skills so much as your mental skills.
I love it. Like that. Yeah. So the only thing that I would add is I guess I could add a lot, but yeah, I agree with all of that. I think.
I mean, I could talk here all day about it. But.
Yeah. So without I guess preaching all day either, I think one, because trading is fully execution based, right? It doesn't really matter what you think until you're in a trade. It's something that's really important, especially when we're here on the internet. You'll see a lot of people say a lot of stuff, right? There are people, you go to Twitter and they'll say every outcome so that they can never be wrong. But then if you look at their trade log, it's like they haven't actually executed the trade that they were right on. So it's execution based, which means like all of your fear drivers, your fear triggers, the things that give you doubt, your relationship with money, how you view money growing up, how you view money today, how much you need it right now is going to absolutely affect your ability to execute and manage trades. And so I think every single trader has to look themselves in the mirror and ask themselves, like, am I a successful trader? Am I doing the things every single day that the version of myself that is profitable as a trader is doing, right? Am I planning every single day? Am I journaling my trades? Do I know when I'm most profitable? Do I know when I'm least profitable? Do I know what makes me mad and makes me start to FOMO? All of these things are things that you have to address because it's fully psychological. I'm huge on affirmations, right? So, you know, I have a whole thing that I say in the morning in the mirror every day. It's a little crazy, but I think you have to be crazy to be successful. But part of mine is, you know, my dreams are not dreams for me. They are the purpose of my existence, and I live them daily, right? I have a whole thing that I say.
I like that. Like,
super
failure's not an
powerful.
option, right?
It's not. And I mean, if you want to be great, trading it's highly accessible. I'd say getting in the door to be a trader is pretty easy, but like making money is pretty hard. So you have to be crazy about it.
For some reason we think if we have a really great profit that we need to keep going, and if we have a really great profit, we need to enjoy a really great profit.
Yeah, you just have to, you know, you need to, again, if you have these higher order questions that are like, what would a successful trader do? It's easy to just take your wins. But if you feel lucky, this is the trap a lot of people get in. They feel lucky. Well, when you feel lucky, successful traders don't get lucky. A successful trader, you know, has a plan and they execute the plan and they expect to make money. You expect to make money when you have edge, right? No, you shouldn't be like, oh, I got lucky today. Like you didn't deserve to make the money that you made, right? Because if you're lucky, you'll get unlucky.
Firm accounts too, is everyone wants to like hit that jackpot and earn the trading account, but then you still have the funded account where you still have to have a plan. So come at your test account with a plan, the same plan you're going to trade your final account with.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to, you know, you don't want to luck your way into the live account.
I've seen a lot of traders do that, and then they have no plan, and then they lose their new live account. But another thing that made a big difference to me, and this kind of goes to your point, we all have bad relationships with money because we've all been told we can't afford that or whatever growing up, and we all have a weird relationship with money. And so for me, my trading funds aren't money, they're funds. It's my trading funds. It's my numbers that I do my job with, and it's not my money. It's not paying my bills until I withdraw it and turn it into money. I'm watching this breakout right here too, y'all, because I had said that 50 level, and I am trying to scalp this long here on the ES here too. I'm just kind of looking for this magic level up here because NASDAQ's got a magic level up here too. So I'm very distracted by this. We're having this great conversation about mindset and money, and I'm a little distracted. But
yeah, all my alerts were firing like mid conversation. I put alerts for all the gaps, and they all fired there.
So Barbie, I see on your chart we're approaching some level that you have there.
Yeah.
What is it? No, NQ. Look at
these
NQ.
are quant
We're like
levels
right there. But what's the NQ level?
These are quant levels. So I don't chart every single thing that I trade. So I've programmed these quant levels. These are my magic levels. They're on bullbarbie.com. And it's just the same mathematical levels that I noticed every single day were really, really, really reliable. And so I can throw these on Tesla, Apple, whatever, and it gives me some levels real quick. And I do use them on NASDAQ and ES a lot too. And they're calculated the same. So sometimes we'll have them line up real nice on NASDAQ compared to ES. We're not getting them lining up perfectly today, but they make really, really great targets. So that's what I'm watching. If I have a big level, so let me switch my ES chart to my level chart. So if I have a whole bunch of levels up here, but I have a magic level just ahead of those, that's usually my target. And it goes back to the don't want to be a dick for a tick. I go for my nearest target. And if that's a quant level instead of a manual level, then I'll go for the quant. So that's what I'm doing here, just kind of watching that. I've got my messy chart has all these different levels on, but that's why I trade with a really clean chart, is that I can just see where my targets are a little bit easier. And I will flip on between my magic levels or my manual levels or anything else I'm watching. I'll kind of go back and see which set of levels is working out best for this play.
All right, Barbie, I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Guys, everyone out there, gals, in between, watching on the show, we have a surprise. Are we giving the people what they want? Yes.
Yeah.
You must be subscribed on YouTube in order to be eligible to win something that's right around the corner. Must be subscribed to win. I'll give you a 5-second countdown in order to subscribe. That was a dramatic countdown, almost as dramatic as the New York Times Times Square ball drop. But all right, courtesy of our very dear friend Bull Barbie, code is coming on the screen now. It's Barbie Rocks. 50
Yeah.
free resets, any account type. Barbie Rocks. Code is on the stream. Grab it now. 50 of you out there are getting a free reset right now. Put it in.
Let's go.
Again,
That's
Barbie
my favorite.
Rocks.
That's my favorite code.
All right. Forrest, what should be the next level for our giveaway, sir? We're at 610 right now.
610.
610, sir.
Wow, Luke. I thought we were veterans in the game, man.
I thought we
610.
were better than that.
We got to do 700.
700?
I'm thinking.
Chat.
All right.
Can
Forrest
we hit
called it
700?
700 for the next round of giveaways. And I promised everyone yesterday free accounts, not just free resets, free accounts too. And so Tinku set the level at 1,000 in the chat for free accounts. So we're looking out for 700 for your next round of giveaways, 1,000 for your free accounts. For all you saying it didn't work, that's okay. Only 50 people got it, but another 100 people are going to be winning free resets or free accounts over the next 40 minutes here. That's not a lot of time. Again, Forrest calling 700, Tinko calling 1,000. Those are your levels. Share it, like it, make sure you're subscribed, and we'll keep rocking and rolling. Preview for what is to come. We've talked NQ, we've talked gold, we almost talked VIX, we sort of danced around it. We talked Tesla, we talked Enphase Energy, we took questions out of the chat, we talked trading psychology. Barbie comes armed each and every day with an educational lesson for you all. So we're going to kick it to education in just a second here. We then have a very special guest who will be joining us right around 10 a.m. Eastern. So we will bring that guest on. And did anybody notice Forrest's background? Highly engaging background.
It's the 10-hour feed. He's getting interrupted by YouTube ads, but hey.
Okay. All right. Real quick, I guess not even real quick. Barbie, kicking it to you for education, and then Forrest, I'm going to come back to you to give us an update off the open. It'll probably be about 20 minutes off the open. You like to look for those 2-hour, 4-hour candles, 10 a.m., 2 p.m. Eastern. So we'll be forming that candle right around the time we're done with education. So I'm going to send it back to you in a minute. But Barbie, take her away.
Oh. I want to just talk about VIX and make sure that we're all on the same page about VIX. I know Forrest uses it a little bit differently than I do. Hang on, I'm just going to book this real quick. Okay. So the VIX is the volatility index for the S&P 500. So how do we use it? And kind of, I want to just really dive into kind of what it is too. And really what it's doing is it's measuring the expectation of the market for what's going to happen in the next 30 days. It's basically like a fear gauge, and it's a way to look at market sentiment. But the way it ends up working is a little bit weird, a little bit different, not weird. It works a little bit differently than how we get things going on other charts. But a lot of the times the VIX is kind of hanging around this base level, and it's usually under 20, although, it'll kind of peak above. That's a really loose kind of number. But what happens is we get these spikes, and this will be around a geopolitical event or an economic event, something like that. We'll get something where the market is really, really not sure about what's happening. And that's when the VIX spikes. And this is really showing us the sentiment of the market and what's going on underneath. So we can use this. There's a few different ways that you can actually trade the VIX. You can use it to help gauge your risk. And then you can also kind of use it as a signal. So what some people will do is literally just trade options on the VIX. I don't do this very much. I have done it before, but what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll look at the different monthly contracts for the VIX and see where there's a lot of open interest, because I'm looking to kind of follow the big boys, right? So there was one it wasn't over here. That's way back in August. There was one over here. I had bought some, it was this one. I had bought some 30 calls because I saw that a lot of people were loading up 30 calls. So I was able to take some profit on some 30 calls in here. That's not the way most people use the VIX though, because the easiest way to use the VIX is to kind of get an idea of when we're going to be getting the larger ranges and an opposite move on the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ in the indexes. So this is the daily chart. I've got the daily VIX and the daily S&P, and the NASDAQ chart, will follow basically the same pattern. But what I wanted to show you is when we're consolidating and having, I guess, more normal or boring candles in here, the VIX is doing that too. It's staying lower and it's having some kind of more boring price action. But when we get a big spike in the VIX, it's showing us that people are really uncertain about the market, and we have the opposite move on the indexes. So I know Forrest likes to watch these higher time frame VIX charts, and you can definitely use these when you're swing trading and things, because it'll give you an idea of when we're looking to move lower, when we're looking to have higher ranges and things. One of my favorite ways to do it, and I'm going to go down to the 5-minute chart, is literally just to use it intraday. Because if you look at just these tight intraday movements, we basically have the opposite movement on the VIX that we have on the S&P 500. The higher the VIX is, the stronger this reverse correlation is going to be. So when the VIX is down around 12, 13, this isn't as good intraday, but when we're at these higher levels, it is. I can almost trade off of just a set of levels and the VIX, because if the VIX is moving higher, I'm going to expect the ES to move lower again. So that was actually just happening. Instead of taking the full profit on that little breakout trade that I was watching, I saw that this candle on the VIX was forming. We had a little doji and then an up move. So that actually told me to kill that trade and not go for that long anymore, because the expectation of getting that extended move out of that breakout point is a lot less if the sentiment in the market is that we're going to have a lot of fear. So that's how I use it intraday, and then I'll also use it to kind of speculate with some options and things. But what a lot of traders will do is they'll monitor the VIX. So if I go back out, I'm going to go back out to like an hourly chart again. They'll monitor the VIX just to let them know when they need to tighten up stops and things. So for the same reason that I was just in that short-term 5-minute day trade, and I booked it because the VIX was starting to come up on a 5-minute chart, you can do the same thing on a 3-minute chart. So if you see the VIX start coming up, and this would have been, and these are hourly candles, so this would have been basically last week. So we have this fear coming into the market. Maybe we want to book any longs that we have going based off of that. I know that Forrest has talked about how he used VIX, so I just wanted to kind of go over what it is and a few different ways you can use it on higher and lower time frame charts. So what else do we have going on here, Luke? Or do we have a donut back?
Me, surprise. Forrest, your 700 level was too easy, sir. We're already there.
Apparently it was.
We're there? Where are we at?
900, and we've got the Tinku psychological level at 1,000.
They don't want me to talk about VIX anymore. They want you to talk about the accounts.
Nope. They don't want that yet. First, Forrest, give us an update on the open. Then we'll talk about the accounts. And then we have a very special guest. So
nice,
Forrest,
nice.
We're about to make that 10 a.m. candle.
Let's do it. Yeah, so 4-hour and the 2-hour are both high volume up candles, right? I can't say green because my candles aren't green. But high volume up candles, we're coming through, really retracing and recapturing all of this down move from yesterday, right? So I have a line here I added for this naked POC above that we formed on Thursday's session, right? So naked point of control in my system for anybody who's unaware, right? And if you want more info on the VPE, check out my community. That's all we trade. But these POCs are key levels intraday as well, right? So we'll often use these for entries and exits on our trades. So it just means it's a point of control that hasn't been tested yet. So given that we have, it's almost the opposite of what I talked about, right? So we had all these down candles, we have up candles now. right? So until the market really shows me that it's going to, reverse here, I'm expecting it to go to the next major liquidity level, right? Which is this POC or this POC node. So there's the actual one price that is the statistically, most volume was transacted here. But if we look at the actual node that it's in, it's really this shelf right here. So this entire shelf here is where that node is. So I'm expecting us to retest that. If we don't, then we're just going to have a more weird day, right? And that's fine, but I'm not really looking for executions until we hit one of these key areas here.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right.
That's what I'm here for.
That's what you're here for. And you know what else you're here for? Again, preview, 5-second countdown. You better be a subscriber. Eligible to win something, you need to be a subscriber. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Code is Forest Rocks. 50 of you are getting free resets. Forest Rocks code is on the screen. Can we get a W Forest in the chat? W Forest in the chat. There we go. Get this man a more comfortable chair.
This is a pretty comfortable chair. I'm not going to lie, guys.
He just can't sit down. He's too excited.
But very ergonomic. Very ergonomic.
50 of you out there are winning free resets. 50 of you. Okay. That is a $5,000 value. We're giving away a decent amount of coin on the show, okay?
I'm going to blow my knees out. Let me sit down. And
again, we have the psychological level at 1,000 that you all cheated on to get to. Somebody did. But we may have free accounts as promised yesterday. We never break our promises on this show. You'll learn. And that is going to be right around the corner. But before we get to that, I would like to welcome Madonna back onto the stream to bring a very special guest to us.
Yay. We're excited. We have a very special guest today that we're going to bring in. His name is Will Options, and he's going to kind of guide us on his trading style and the market. So welcome, Will. Let's bring Will in.
Yo, what's up, guys?
Yo, hi, Will. How are you?
Camera's looking all right. Background all right.
Yeah, looking great.
Thank you.
I think we approve. Yeah, I think you're looking great.
Sweet.
All right, Will. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, how long you've been trading, so the audience gets to know you a little better, and then we'll go from there.
All right, so my name's Will. I've been trading for like 8 years. I've tried everything under the sun, like Forex, options, and now finally on to futures. And I think futures is just like the method for me. I mean, it's just been the most profitable I've ever been. And I've been trading futures using ICT concepts for about 2.5 years now. And
Wow.
I trade just on the NASDAQ.
Awesome. Well, what are you looking at today? What's special about today that you can share with us?
I have my screen shared. I don't know if you guys are able to put that up, but marked out here.
I think that's me. Nope.
Yeah. Yeah, here's
Okay,
me.
there we go.
Yeah, so what I have right here, I have the NASDAQ futures chart on my left, and I have the ES futures chart on my right. Normally both of these are up at the same time. I normally only trade NASDAQ, but I have ES up as a confluence. I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with ICT concepts. I know Luke put it in the chat a few times saying like type 1 if you trade ICT concepts, and I actually saw a good amount of people that do trade ICT concepts.
All right, let's do it again.
Yeah,
Boom.
yeah. Let's
1 in the chat if you trade ICT. 2 if you do not. 3 if you have no idea what we're talking about, and we will educate you.
Yeah. So there's like a I don't want to say like a plateau or like I mean there is a good learning curve like there is with everything, but I feel like a lot of things with ICT concepts is there's a lot to learn and not a lot that works. So people tend to overcomplicate it. But once you have the right structure and know which ICT concepts to pair together to become profitable, that's when I would say that ICT works. But a lot of people are ICT haters too.
Cool.
I'm a non-believer. I'll be honest with you. But if it works, it works. You know, if you're making money.
Hey, honestly, I think most strategies work with good risk management and proper execution. So honestly, it is up to you. That's just the method I choose, and that's the way that I look at the market, and it's easiest for me to take on risk. So
yeah. So tell me, what's your like? Sorry, I don't know if you had like a planned thing, but like, what's your like go-to setup? What's your favorite?
Okay, so I have like different grading scales for each kind of setup that I have, but normally the basis of it is an inverse fair value gap entry model. So when we have a fair value gap like this 3 minute, it is right now obviously a fair value gap, like where this top wick is, we have this middle candle body, and then we have this down close wick, and that creates what we call a fair value gap. So the entry model for a position, let's say, is if we have a full candle body closure below this fair value gap, like this, we have a full candle body closure and get like a tap back in, right? So that would be when a candle closed below, we would take our position and, you know, enter on the candle body closure below. But we also combine that with an ICT concept called SMTs, where NASDAQ will take a high that ES doesn't. But right now, that was a short inverse fair value gap. Right now, I want to see this new week opening gap and the previous day high get hit before we take any shorts. But yeah, it's just like a combination of ICT concepts, just kind of jumbled into one working model, if that makes sense.
Nice. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
And you said you're looking at 3 minute candles?
Yeah, I look through the 5 minute, the 1 through the 5 minute for entries, and then everything else is just for bias. So like where I think the market's going to go. So obviously I'll come into market open, look at the daily, the 4 hour, the hourly, just see what we're trading into, see what we're trading from, and just see where price is most likely to go, and just see if we can get an entry towards wherever I think price is going to go.
And so, you know, when you're looking at some of these tighter time horizons, like a 3 minute candle, how long are you typically putting a trade on for?
So honestly, it really just depends on how quickly the market's moving. It doesn't matter. Like I've had trades where it hits my take profit in 2 minutes, and I've had trades where it takes 45 minutes. Honestly, the only thing with the minutes candle, because obviously a 3 minute, a 2 minute, a 4 minute, that's kind of like unfamiliar, but that's only just the entry. So I'm just looking for a candle body closure below a fair value gap or above a fair value gap for the entry itself. So I don't typically like watch the 3 minute for structure per se, but that's just how my entry is formatted rather than like watching a 2 minute candle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And you've got it looks like NASDAQ is the big chart. ES is a smaller chart that you have there.
Yes.
Any other assets that you look at regularly on a daily basis, or anything you're looking at today in particular?
So the ICT model works on Forex and futures. I've tried to trade gold before, but the only thing that I think works best for how I want my risk to be formatted is NASDAQ. It just moves fast, it moves clean. There's no stall in price. It'll either stop you out or it'll hit your take profit. So I think that even though there is other options like gold, like oil, and you know, like just commodities in general, I just think it's best for me just to hold off on them and just trade one pair, because you don't want to get too mumbo jumboed in your head of like, you know, I'm going to trade gold today, I'm going to trade NASDAQ today, I'm going to trade EU today. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? So I just focus on NASDAQ only. And the only reason I have ESs up is just to look for SMTs. So otherwise I would not have ES up.
Okay. So something that we talked about a little bit earlier in our show today is we've got a big earnings report for
Yep.
Tesla coming out today. Obviously, it's a pretty heavily weighted component in NQ and somewhat in ES as well.
Yeah.
Do you look at like the news that'll come out on Tesla after the close? Does it impact how you're going to think about the end of the day today? Anything along those lines?
Yeah, so there's a few different kind of ways I integrate ICT into my model. Obviously, I don't base everything the market does around ICT. There is fundamental analysis involved because long term we do play off interest rates and we do play off how the economy is going. So I'm not completely focused on like, oh, if we have like this daily fair value gap, like, up here, like, oh, I want this to get filled, right? But Tesla earnings are super bearish and the market goes down. Like, that's not all I'm focused on. So I do incorporate fundamental analysis. And one thing I have noticed is that Asia session at 6 p.m., they love really good tech earnings, and Asia will move very based on how good or bad Tesla earnings are. And then that's how you can kind of formulate your bias for New York Open. So if you have bad Asia session, you have a good sell-off, then you're most likely to see a New York sell-off. So I do incorporate it, basically 50-50 on like what I've learned so far with fundamental analysis like earnings, but I don't focus on it solely because like from an intraday perspective, we are on simulated funded accounts and we cannot hold a swing trade past 5 p.m. So the only thing I am currently looking at is intraday trades. So even though earnings could affect my bias, I don't necessarily say that if it's good or bad, I'm not going to trade or I'm not going to take a short, even if earnings are bullish. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I want to take a break for a second and ask a question to the chat. Do you have a trade on now? If so, what is it? You could be like, long this, short that. Because we want to talk about a couple of these and we want to pull up a couple charts. But if you have a trade on now, don't just say yes. I see you saying yes. That is not the question. We're asking specifically what it is, people.
What is it?
You want those free accounts. We want to know what the trade is. I'm going to ask Will another question, and then we'll come back and we'll look at some of these together in a second here. But Will, could you talk a little bit about like your pre and post trading routines? Anything that you do to get ready in the morning, and then after you had a trade that either went your way or didn't go your way, what are the next steps that you take?
Yeah, so coming into New York Open, I do have a Discord that I live trade in. So I'll probably get up at like 8:30, take a shower, just get ready for the day because you don't want to just roll out of bed and like start looking at candles. It's not really good for psychology. I trade from 9:30 to 11 a.m. So we either get a setup, we either take a winning trade or we take a losing trade, or we don't trade. So if we come into market open, we're not really seeing conditions are too good. And I'll spend about 20 minutes just looking at the market, just seeing what targets we have, kind of like how I broke down like the daily and the 4 hour. Just I want to see this get hit. And if I can't see it get hit, then, we don't take a trade. Losing trade and winning trade, you kind of go about it the same. There is really nothing that you can do about a loss or a win. You just got to keep, moving forward. A win is obviously better and, you get more excited about a win, but a loss is a loss at the end of the day. And I just kind of go about my day. Obviously, I'm a little bit more happier when there's a win, but I try not to think about if there was a loss. So, I'll hit the gym, I'll hang out with friends, I'll hop on meetings. I have a few other businesses, so I'll work on those, but normally I'll occupy trading from really like 8 to 11. And then I actually interact with my Discord a lot. Like we play Minecraft and, it's like a really tight knit community. So I actually interact with them a lot more than I probably like to say. I spend a good amount on my computer.
There you go. Do you trade the afternoons at all?
Sometimes, if I don't get a trade in New York, I will look at PM session. But the thing with my model is PM session's a lot slower. So if I have a draw on liquidity, which is what ICT calls where like price is going to go. So like if this is your draw on liquidity, like this NWOG and previous AI, you're going to want to see like price trade to it, right? I think that according to the algorithm and what I believe in, that only AM session has really quick delivery. So obviously I'm trying to trade the most lucrative times. So I only want to trade when I think price is going to deliver, where I think it's going to go fast, rather than something like in the afternoon where I don't see stuff going quickly, or I don't think price can go to where I want it to.
Gotcha. And you talked about, so do you, I guess one more question, I'm just curious. So I've been trading, I guess, similar period of time, but I mostly trade my own account. Do you not hold, like, do you not swing trade at all, or are you just purely like RTH?
I'm purely intraday. So I only hold positions. Honestly, I wouldn't even say intraday, because I don't even hold like a London to New York. My longest trade is probably like a few hours.
Interesting. Do you not feel like you're leaving money on the table? Like, could you not trade the same concepts on a higher time frame and capture?
You theoretically could, but I think within my model, it's easier on my psychology just to be in and out, rather than like more about leaving like potential profits. I think that if we look at it like we're making a certain amount of money a day, and we're making it more than, you know, what we could be making at a normal job per se, I think it's just like, I don't know. I don't really mind leaving money off the table per se if I'm still trading my model profitably.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, any of you guys have any other questions? I also don't know how much you guys know about ICT. I know I heard Barbie talking about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I tend to have noticed that ICT uses a bunch of concepts that I had already learned from other traders, but has renamed them. So that's what I don't know. So I like when you're talking about fair value gaps, I know that Forrest trades volume imbalance a lot.
Volume profile.
Volume profile. That's what I meant to say. So he would be looking for the low volume nodes, which when I was looking back at the fair value gaps for ICT, it was kind of the same idea. And I've always really liked gaps. I've traded daily gaps and weekly gaps. So I think sometimes a lot of the hard thing for me is just like using this new exclusive language. I would rather use a language that everybody uses. So I don't say new week opening gap. I just say weekly gap. So I just think it's a little,
honestly,
that's my criticism of it. Is
no. I'm not like the biggest like ICT nerd, and like I don't like adapt, and I don't like adapt him into my personality. Like if someone doesn't like ICT, I'm not gonna sit there and really defend him, no matter how many hours I've watched of him.
Well, it's hard to defend the person. To be fair, he doesn't make that easy. But no, I mean, it's not like ICT concepts aren't real or aren't good. It's just I like looking at it a different way. So
no, and I understand, honestly.
What Will, where did you learn ICT, or like did you learn from ICT himself? Were there other channels that you liked?
Yeah, so core was ICT, and then there's obviously like a lot of YouTube channels that will simplify his concepts, because if you've ever watched any one of his videos, he will tend to just like spew out 30 minutes of God knows what, and then like 5 minutes of actual, you know, learnable information. But it was mainly YouTube, and then I've had a few mentors myself until I got to the point where I think I could mentor other people.
Got it. Awesome. Well, Will, any final thoughts for us? We've got a couple more candles as you've been on, a couple downward candles. Any final thoughts about how the chart is looking for the day?
Yeah, so honestly, the only thing I want to see is this weekly gap. So even if we trade lower, I would like to see us trade into one of these 15-minute gaps and then get a move higher, kind of like how we're forming this. So we'll tap into this 15-minute fair value gap right here. And then ideally we get an inversion of, say, this 2-minute fair value gap up here to get a continuation higher towards that weekly gap. That would be the only thing I want to see. Honestly, if we started dumping, I probably would not take a trade. The only thing I would want to see is possibly these Asia lows down here, but these are also 300 points away. So I would just like to see a bit more structure first.
I've been looking for that gap to fill too. I noticed we got to the midpoint. And by the way, I know that ICT likes midpoints. Lots of people like midpoints. I like midpoints too. So I did notice that when we first went for that gap, we got just to the midpoint of it. So that's a big one on my radar this week too, is can we get over on ES, it's really over the 5,300 mark, 5,306 to try to get that gap filled. That is definitely on the playbook this week.
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome.
I don't care when it gets done. I just want to be in it.
Yeah, me too. I was gonna say I just want to have an entry towards it at least.
I gotta ask because why not? But I'd love to. I'm trying to interview more traders. So either here or definitely down to collab with you, man. But
yeah, for sure.
I have a dope studio here in Miami. Would love if you want to sit down, chop it up.
Yeah, I'll be there on a Saturday if you actually want to take my number down.
Cool. Yeah, I'll DM you in the stream.
Yeah, bet.
Stream chat thing that we've got going on. That's possible.
That sounds good. Yeah, I'm gonna be down there the 26th through the. Honestly, I don't even have a flight back. I'll just be down there. So
Nice.
He's moving in.
I'm moving with Forrest.
Yeah, you can stay at Forrest Place.
I've got a lot of space here. We got a lot of space here.
That sounds good. Yeah, I'm down.
Awesome. And Will, how can folks stay in touch with you?
So my biggest platform is obviously TikTok, and it's Will Options. It's right there underneath of my name. So yeah, that's where you can find me on TikTok. There's like the link to my learning group in the bio of the TikTok. If you don't have TikTok, my Instagram is just Will Jordan, and you can just find me there. And my DMs are always open as well. So if you go to my Discord, message me there. We can talk about whatever. Same with you, Forrest. We need to link up in Miami this week.
I'm here, man. Well, yeah, let's make it happen. I just DM'd you my number, so we'll make it happen. There's a few traders in town today, though, filming here. So.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I'm not sure how familiar you are with the TikTok space traders, but a bunch of us are gonna be down there like next week.
Nobody ever comes to Central Texas.
Nobody wants to go to
Sounds exciting, but we'll have to put that one on the calendar.
Yeah, I was gonna say Forrest. Yeah, we get Forrest out on the yacht with us.
There you go. I can make it. I can swing that.
All right, sounds good.
Let's do it.
Well, all righty. Awesome, Will. Thank you, sir, for hopping on and joining us.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
At least we have some chat in Central Texas. I saw that. We're representing a little bit.
Represent a little bit. There you go. All right, people. It's time. The time has come for some free accounts. We made the promise yesterday, and something you will learn watching the show is that we always keep our promises. We say we're going to give you a chart of the day. We do it. We say we'll talk levels. We'll do it. We say we'll talk trades. Note to you, Barbie and Forrest, we got a lot of people who are long NQ. So when I go to you for final thoughts, keep that in your noggin. But the time has come for some free accounts. And you must be a subscriber to be eligible. So take the time right now, hop onto YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. This is for our EL2, our eval to live account, 2-step, making it very clear. I get berated in the chat when I say things that you tell me I didn't say them, even though I did. Crystal clear. Eval to live account 2-step. Code is going on the screen now. It is
Let's go.
Idona Rocks.
Ah.
Idona Rocks. Let's
Idona
go.
Rocks.
Woo!
That's the
You had a-
one.
You had a Barbie Rocks. You had a Forest Rocks. Now you have an Idona Rocks.
Do we need one more for you, Luke?
No, we should do. Look,
Just
What?
while they type in Idona Rocks, because I'm watching the chat and there's a lot of people battling in the chat, and I was like, what if we did an actual debate on trading? Just for fun. That could be
I would
interesting.
love it.
Throwing it out there.
Yes.
I volunteer Barbie, and I'll just
Yeah. Are we doing like a 1v1? What we got?
No, it's a 1v50. It's a 1v50.
people apparently take these trading systems very personally.
Yeah.
And I love to see it. I love the passion.
it's nice.
Awesome. All
We
right.
couldn't do it without you guys, for sure.
Woo. Amazing. All right.
Well,
and
any
thank you to
final
Tinku.
thoughts?
Can we get a W Tinku in the chat too for calling out the 1,000 level for our final giveaway? All right, Idona, what's left in our show today?
Yeah, well, just some final thoughts, maybe to kind of wrap the show up for today. Bull Barbie, do you have anything else to say? And then, of course, Forrest as well.
Well, I did end up kind of back in that. I when I was talking about VIX, I had kind of booked that real quick when it was threatening my to go back below my entry. But I did get back in this 50 break on one of these little candles. But I did book it when we got up here to that level, like I was saying. It could keep going, but I like to kind of break my trades up segment by segment. And so that was kind of the trade that I was looking for. We could potentially be setting it for another long up here off of this, I guess around the 75 level. So I'm kind of watching for that and underneath this magic level here. And if we get that on ES, I think we're going to get it on NASDAQ too. Although this is a slower news day, so I'm also conscious. I'm paying attention to the fact that we may not have like that full extension. Like we may run out of volume and not be able to get some of these full targets today. So that's why I'm looking at these targets as something I want to achieve this week and not necessarily today, but I'm here for it if it happens today.
Awesome. Thank you, Barbie. What about you, Forrest?
Yeah, so we've mentioned it. A lot of confluences to the upside here. We had a green candle, green candle, green candle, right? Completely the opposite of what we talked about on the downside, right? So until the market kind of tells you that it's reversing, I expect higher into the same node, right? So we have this naked POC above. There is the naked POC node. So anywhere in this range of like 330 to 450, which is 120 points, if I could do math, is where I expect this to test higher, right? At that point, it's probably going to be midday lunchtime here. I might expect some chop or a pullback into like a mean reversion, essentially, lower here, and might look for a trade there. But technically, the best trade for me to take would have been reversing. So when I exited my short, I should have just flipped long. Since I didn't take that, I'm not really interested in taking something on the tail end of this, so I'm flat personally. It's too late for me on this one. But I know a few traders in my community took it, which is love to see it. That's dope. And yeah, those of you out there, if you haven't taken any trades today, if you're green, protect your money like they're your kids. If you're red, don't make it worse. There's always tomorrow. That'd be my last message.
There's nothing better than revenge trading.
Yeah, nothing. Get after it.
I thought trading was less emotion, more strategy.
I mean, sometimes I do feel like taking it out on an account, and that's what sim accounts are for. I'm just saying, if you want to go enjoy an account, account.
Cool.
Okay,
all right.
Luke, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Thank you, everyone, for a fun show today. We will be back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We've got a very rare deal for you all. I'm putting a link in the chat. I'm going to spam it a few times. Use code APR START, and that's going to get you an $82 starter account. no activation fees. Whether you're a new user and you've never tried MyFundedFutures, this is the way. I'll say the way. I don't know if I can say that, but I'll say the way to get started. If you've been with us for some time, this deal is also you're eligible for it as well. So it's a really special deal. Again, I'm putting the link in the chat. APR start is the code. Give that one a go. And tomorrow we have a very special guest, Mr. ICT himself with Barbie. Nope, just kidding.
My boxing gloves. I got my hater hat.
Will was amazing.
No,
I'm
we
bringing him
love
here
it.
on
We love
stage.
it.
No.
Yeah, Will was amazing, and we loved having Will.
Yes,
But we're gonna have Lumi Trades. Amazing trader,
Woo-hoo.
amazing streamer, someone that I followed for quite some time. So Lumi will be here with us tomorrow, and I will see you all at 9 a.m. Eastern.
All right, guys.